Hello, everyone. Welcome to BizTalk World Talk Show presented by Clickover Creatives. Today, we have Mr. Pranav Bhanage with us. He's an experienced CEO who has helmed oil and gas downstream business in Asia and successfully delivered complex turnaround initiatives. He has taken an active role in mentoring, coaching junior staff across the world, and seen some of them, progress rapidly in their careers and reflecting his learning of more than 2 decades, I believe. So he's also a speaker, he's a mentor, he's a coach, he's all that you are looking for, to learn from an individual. So without further ado, let me introduce you to the man himself. Hello, Pranav. How are you doing?
Hi. I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
It's pleasure. It's our pleasure, and thank you very much for joining us. All right. So, I mean, for our viewers to know, we had so many things to discuss about Pranav. I mean, from mine, but I chose, to keep it short and simple. We generally ask individuals, to guide about your profile, but I will not, ask that classical question with you. We'll basically directly start with, because you're a mentor, you're a coach, so you know how what struggles people generally see in their way of success and what you must have seen in your path towards the success. So I won't ask you the question if it's yes or no, but my question would be, how did you overcome and how did you guide individuals to overcome and supersede over them?
It's a great question to start off our chat, and I'm really, like I said, very happy to be here. I think the question of obstacles or failures, I think, is a pertinent one. I think, given that there's a lot that has changed in the last 18 to 20 months, and all of us have gone through that process and the journey. Uh, so I thought that maybe I should, if I reflect back on my journey, I think there would be, of course, there've been many obstacles, but if I could sort of classify those obstacles, there could be a few boxes of obstacles. And I think
Mhm.
most of the people I speak with, and my seniors and juniors, I think all have ticked on those sort of boxes of obstacles. So number one, usually is directional. So we you don't know which way to go. Everything looks confusing or everything looks nice, and you're not able to make that decision. Then the other sort of obstacle that you reach is execution. So meaning that you're very clear of what you want to do. However, you're not able to get it done. Sort of deliver the results that you want. Uh, the third sort of obstacles that I have faced and many others face is that the externalities, the box of externalities. I mean, you've done everything in your control. You're clear of the vision. You have the right things in place. You're ready to execute, but the external environment completely changes, and all your strategy,
Mhm.
whatever you want to do, makes no sense anymore in that context. So, broadly, you can look at obstacles always falling into, these three big buckets, right? You have a directional dilemma, you have an executional, loss of will, loss of energy, and then you have an externality which you just cannot sort of control.
Mhm.
Now, this can lead to several. I would say it can lead to several emotions, right? I mean, whenever we are faced with these emotions as a human being, I'm sure you and I have gone through all the time. We go to a range of emotions that,
Mhm.
hey, this is not working. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe the God is not on my side. Maybe he did not do his job well, or she did not do it. I was all the way correct in my view, etc. So those are all the emotions I would, as a human being, you will go through.
Mhm.
And the journey of, I'm sure, I mean, there's so many leaders you've got on this platform to talk to and talk with. They've gone through these range of emotions, and they've seen these obstacles sort of uh, coming their way. I think the key here is really, how do you overcome them? I think
Mhm.
that's the sort of a follow-up question that comes in everybody's mind. How do you really overcome these things? So again, I would put down my overcome philosophy in a couple of parameters. I think number one, um, is that I think we should look at everything as a journey.
Mhm.
So when you that changes the perspective. So not everything is not a destination. I mean, for a startup, guys, 1 billion valuation is not a destination. So it's a
That's
journey. So when you look at yourselves in a long journey, what you do is that you go through the process of continuous uh, change. You go to a process of continuous reflection, and your next version is better than the previous version. I mean, the software companies do it all the time, right? So you have a
Hmm.
beta version and God knows how many versions, and then you come to a final version. Then it again keeps on improving, version
Hmm.
1.0, 2.0, etc. So if you look at yourself as going through that entire journey, and the process where tomorrow would be a better me than what I was yesterday. So,
Hmm.
for example, if I talk to you in 2 years' time, I would say, hey, I should have started this interview in a different way. Maybe I can bring something more to the table than what I could have 2 years ago. And the people who embrace that journey and who embrace that philosophy, I have seen that those are the guys or girls, who are pretty much at ease with themselves.
Hmm.
The counterfactual to that is that people who look at destination or a goal. So, you have to do this, you've got to crack this, and this is your only attempt. And
Hmm.
I think that sort of confuses a lot of people. It puts a lot of undue stress on people as they go along. So you asked me, how do I overcome? So I have always embraced this philosophy of journey. It makes you comfortable because it says, hey, there'll be another version. Don't worry. This is
That's
not the final Pranav that we are actually coming here. And I'm sure even when Click Away Creators, you guys started so many years ago, and where you are today, I think you've gone through that process of continuously eliminating what is not right, improving on what is right, and you get a refined version of yourself as you go along. And you can talk to the artists, etc. I mean, I don't know whether you
right.
get them on your forum, but if you talk to a lot of artists or musicians, story writers, they will always say that, hey, the draft I wrote yesterday looks really bad now. I should change it tomorrow. And that's the process. You embrace that. I think, the obstacles will sort of melt away, I would say, as you go along. So that's my small snippet on the obstacle question that you have. But it's a topic I like to talk about, so I can talk
No,
for
that's
half
very
an hour.
beautifully put.
Yeah.
That's very beautifully put, I should mention. You also mentioned about, I mean, people. So we also have to deal with people. Like maybe it's part of the internal difficulties or internal obstacles that you're talking about. There's some external elements as well. So people come in both genres, I believe, internally as well and externally as
Mm,
well.
mm.
If we can talk about their management, I mean, we can call it team management or people management. What are your methods for that specifically?
Yeah, I think it's a good segue to this from an obstacle to people, because I think one important linkage there is that you're not on your own. I mean, the journey philosophy I mentioned, it's not an individual sort of just taking a backpack and going along life. I think that doesn't happen.
Hmm.
So, in terms of uh, having the right set of people along this journey becomes very, very important. And one of the big challenges, I think, as you go along in your career journeys, is that the topic that you ignored the most during your MBA schools, which was HR lessons and others, I think that sort of becomes the most important topics that you should have listened to your professor more rather than bunking it and focusing on finance. Because I think like you said, the getting the right team, getting the right set of people is extremely important as you
Hmm.
go along in the career journey, also in your personal
Hmm.
life. So, uh, few thoughts around how I get the teams. What the way I look at the team. I think number one is composition. Um, Again, I mean, I use the analogies of sports quite a bit. So, composition of a say a football team.
Hmm.
I mean, if Messi is going to Paris now, I don't know whether he fits into that composition or not.
That's right.
So,
That's a big
so
question that
that's a
everybody's having.
exactly. So you have a Neymar there, you have a Mbappe there. I don't know what role he will play, but nevertheless, I think the composition of a team is the most important, the first step of anybody who is who's on this sort of a managerial or a leadership path.
Hmm.
And It is actually quite intuitive. I mean, if when you used to play sports in our when we were growing up, remember we used to form teams, right? So you identify two captains and then they
That's
choose,
right.
hey, I want this guy and I want this guy. I think so. As growing up as young kids, we always had that intuition of how to get the right team. But somehow along the journey, what happens is that um, the systems, the education structures, they all force you to think individualistically.
Hmm.
So your marks are individual, you need to crack the exam on your own, not with help of 25 people. So the
That's
entire
right.
philosophy is towards individual contribution. So I think we lose that touch as we go along. So simple stuff. I mean, composition of the team is extremely important.
Hmm.
The second is the complementing nature of the teams. I mean, when I look at the teams that actually do really well, again, to unfortunately or fortunately, to use a football example, if you're following the small team called Leeds in the EPL,
Hmm.
you know they really complement each other. You don't need a Messi or a Ronaldo, but you basically need bunch of individuals who are really complementing each other.
Yeah.
And armies, you see the battalions or platoons, you have this people who really know what everybody's role is and they complement each other.
That's
So
right.
getting the right people, making them, setting them out in a very symbiotic relationship. I think that those two things. The third important thing here is that which I believe the viewers should be aware of is that setting the right goal.
Hmm.
And as you would man large organizations, you know that every organization has different units, etc. Everybody has priorities. Every starting lineup is different. I mean, everybody's starting point is different.
Hmm. Hmm.
So the onus is on the leader or a manager to have a clear goal.
Hmm.
It should be simple, very translatable, relatable. Again, sports is easy. There is only
That's right.
one net. You got to throw the ball in the net. That's it, right? So it can be as simple as that. But in organizations, the goal setting can be a little bit more complex,
Hmm.
can be a little bit more twisty. So I think it's important for the leader or the manager to get the clarity in thinking, have a clear goal of where to get these guys going. And last but not the least, I think is the element of trust. I think this, I'm sure, even I've seen some of your programs, a lot of people talking about trust, and it's usually commonly misused.
Hmm.
But to me, I think the greatest example of trust comes in, again, in the army or
Hmm.
in the services, because there you're entrusting your life in somebody else's hand. You know, so you are using somebody's cover fire to actually go and penetrate the area which that if the guy behind doesn't give you the cover fire, then your
It
life
won't.
would be endangered.
Yeah, that's right.
So that element of actually trusting that other guy, if I am the sales guy, I can go and commit, and the supply chain will make my delivery promise happen. I think that's the kind of trust that needs to be nurtured. So along these four dimensions of having the right composition, getting complementing people
Hmm.
together and getting people to complement each other,
Hmm.
having a clear goal, and then ensuring that there is absolute trust in the teams. I think those are the four, I would say, big ideas that I use.
Hmm.
Of course, sometimes successfully, sometimes not, and then you got to continuously improve.
That's right. No, I mean, whatever you said, because I mean, I'm not sure whether you are a keen fan of books, but I am. So I've been to this *Sapiens*. I'm sure you must have at least
Yes,
heard
yes,
of it.
yes,
So
yes, yes.
there
Very good.
also, the writer talks about the mutualism aspect of the evolution that we have seen. So I guess
Correct, correct.
that's, I mean, if we have to really sum up this whole concept that you just mentioned, it's all about mutualism. Whether we talk about sports or whether we talk about the corporates here, I mean, if X is a salesman, then Y, if the Y marketing team is doing good, then the salesperson is just going
Correct,
full throttle on his portion, and
correct,
then
correct.
operations comes in, and after really delivering that particular product or service, I would say, then the CX team comes into the role.
Correct,
So
correct.
that's how I guess, it's all about completing the cycle. I mean, it's all about, how should I put it? Like in terms of football, we should put it like assisting. So we keep on
Correct,
assisting, and then there's a striker who basically strikes out.
correct, correct.
So that's how we really ended. Okay, talking about I mentioned about evolution. In evolutionary journey, we have come so far from being apes to now humans, and now
Hmm,
to humans who really are staying in sort of their cages after COVID.
hmm.
So let's talk about a representation of COVID. I mean, the mental health and professionalism in context of COVID. So if I may ask, how do you see, or what do how do you understand the impact of constant change during especially this COVID times, and on mental health of professionals like me or you, and its impact on their outcome as well, if we can?
No, I think it's a relevant question for our times. And I've always said this when I discuss with my teams or my peers, is that when you want to say from a professional standpoint or an organization standpoint, when you want to execute a strategy, you need to have a stable platform. I mean, the
Mhm.
way we were thinking 2 years ago is that some things are given. So in a Maslow's theory, typically, okay, I have clothes to wear, there's food on the table, then I can think of self-actualization and talking on these forums and trying to give some nuggets, right? So is the same for us in a professional domain or even for organizations. I mean, you need some form of stability, stability of supply chain, a stability of demand, a stability of people processes, also health stability of
Mhm.
your employees, etc. Once that is given, I think that's when you can step up and say, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to reject this strategy, I'm going to gain market share, or I'm going to do whatever big song and dance I want to do. I think what's changed in the last 18 months or so is that that stability is gone.
Mhm.
So it's practically like, every day you go out there and you are caught with a new, sort of a new surprise. Hey, I mean, suddenly, oh, okay, the container pricing has increased 300 to 400%. Suddenly there is an embargo on certain countries, or suddenly, the ports that are operating 24/7, the ports are now operating only 5 hours. Suddenly your team that is used to come to office, now half of it comes, half of it doesn't. I don't know. Some guys are in some other places, lots of stuff. So the some tacit assumptions of us running a business or you guys running a business have been snatched away in the last 18 months, right? So once that happens, I think then that leads us to this fact of um, your outcome is not give. I mean, rather your inputs or your effort is not giving the result that you want,
Mhm.
and that's not because suddenly we have become weak or we are not able to do it. It's just because that the kind of externalities that are required for it to give that impact have suddenly become very, very variable.
That's right.
And I think that the only people who are used to this kind of variabilities are actually the services people or the people who are in the armed forces,
Mhm.
because for them, every battle would be different, or every gig would be very, very different. We are not. I mean, we use a lot of their words and their terminology is like frontal attack and this and that, but we basically sit at home and basically
That's right.
imagine, right? We are not saving anybody's life, or we're not fighting for our lives. So I think a lot of this workforce, as I've seen, has not been exposed to this kind of a sudden and every day I wake up and everything has changed kind of a scenario.
Mhm.
And that's where I think there's a lot of emphasis now on mental health, because people say, hey, this was working for me 18 months ago. I was able to make it happen. I was able to deliver the results that and I was like a superstar. Suddenly I can't, because so many things are changing which are beyond my control. And then it really depends upon how the individuals look at it,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? I mean, either they say, yes, I understand this is a challenge and I will step up and change it, or they exact opposite that is also true, where they say, oh no, everything is breaking down, I can't take it anymore.
That's right.
So I think that's what people are going through in this 18 to 20 months. Plus there are instabilities at home as well, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
as a as a brother or a sister or a mother or a father or a son or a daughter, you are impacted.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody is impacted. So that's also playing on your minds continuously. So I think it's more of a factor of so many changes, not able to control the basic variables that were so much like a given. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you switch on the light, the electricity is there. You don't need to really fix a wire every time.
That's right.
And once the electricity is there, then you can use that light to do something creative. So if you spend half your time fixing the wires, I think by the time you reach to the enlightened state as such, I mean, you have no power to actually continue
That's
mentally.
right.
So I think that's what we are going through, and the only way to sort of come out of this is again, as we are realizing, is that acceptance. I mean, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Our generation hasn't seen this since we were not there in World War II, so we haven't
Mm-hmm.
seen it.
Yeah.
So it's acceptance, take it on, you know, be resilient, be open to change, open to pivot your ideas 25 times. I think those are the guys and girls who are good at that are actually coming out faster.
Mm-hmm.
The ones who are not good at constant change, not okay with chaos, not okay with flux, I think they're taking a longer time to accept this.
No, that's right. I mean, it's like ordering your favorite food from Swiggy, and it says like you're gonna get it in 20 minutes, but it's taking like now 40 to 50 minutes. But still, that's the same pizza that you have ordered, and it's gonna be there. You know that it's gonna be there. So ultimately, when it reaches you, I mean, your mouth is full of water, and you really enjoys it like 10x than you were really waiting for it before 30 minutes. So I guess if that's the other way around, that's what my father actually guided me through. I mean, it's like cooking your own food and then
Hmm.
waiting to eat it, rather than just waiting to eat it. So that the way you said that, the fixing that electricity wire, and then once you see that glow in your room or in your hall, that gives you a different sort of satisfaction that you did it. You were there, you survived the darkness, and now you're gonna just be there in light and go watch your Netflix shows, whatever you want to.
I mean, that's another way of looking at it. I think it's interesting what we said because, yeah, if it gives you a lot of pleasure of actually fixing it and enjoying the fruit of the labor, I think that's one way of looking at it. But the 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 sad reality is that we take that for given. So I mean,
That's right.
the reason if you're ordering from Swiggy and it turns up at your doorstep, you have only given 20 minutes of your life for that entire activity, and the rest of the time you're going to do something.
That's right.
If that 20 then occupies 80, I think it takes away the 60 from what you're going to do otherwise. And I think that's where the challenge is coming through. So we,
That's like we
we
are talking about multiverse right now.
correct, correct, correct.
Oh, that's beautiful. All right. So I mean, we have so many things to discuss here with Pranav, but we'll keep on going and we'll move ahead to our last question of the session of the day, which is a pretty classic question that I always ask to our invitees and all the individuals that we talk to. What would you really advise for young professionals who are really watching it, who have their own ventures, or who are working professionals in a nutshell? So, what would be your advice in terms of their professional journey, if I may ask?
Sure. So I think again a relevant question. I'm thinking through in terms of how I can structure it. So I think I'll start with the number one sort of rule I use is that please be okay with failures. Yeah, I think, and I've discussed this many times at different forums, different shows, also with my peers and my mentees and etc. I think it's okay to fail. Seriously, I think it's really okay to fail. And I thought, Olympics recently, you saw many top athletes actually not getting through. It's like Simon Biles was as a great example.
Mhm.
Lot of expectation, but you know she really struggled. So I think it's okay to fail, and we got to acknowledge, accept, failures, confess failures, and hey, okay, I bungled up. It's okay, man. I mean, we will only improve from here. I think that's one. Number two, I think, which is coming, which I'm seeing more and more as a uh, sort of a deal breaker, is that you gotta be okay with constant flux and change. I think we just discussed how the world has changed in the last 18 months, but at the same time, I think it's important to be okay with the change. And I've seen people embrace change in different ways. I mean, there are people who say, oh, okay, now let's do something else. There are others who say, hey, no, I built up so many things. Now you're asking me to change a fundamental assumption. Now I have to go back to the drawing board, yada, yada, yada. So I think as a young professional, uh, sort of change is tied to your destiny, man. And it's our destiny as well. So you got to be okay with change, meaning that acknowledge, accept change, accept that things can change even if you don't want to. Number three, which I think is relevant, is also be okay with a debate or an
Mhm.
in a counterfactual or another worldview. So yeah, I mean the plant is green, but if you say it's red, I cannot discard you as somebody who just doesn't understand this word. Maybe
Mhm. Mhm.
maybe the camera has a red eye effect or whatever, and you're seeing my background as red. So there could be a way, and I think it's important to to really accept opposing point of views. And I think it also goes back to the earlier conversation we had in terms of how do you get people to complement each other.
Mhm.
I mean, you don't want 11 Messis in your team. Your team will surely lose,
That's right.
right? So you need the right people who have different point of view, a different skill set, which you don't have. And that if you bring those kind of people together, there will be a constant conflict and a constant, debate. But being okay with a debate, being okay with a conflicting point of view, arguing like hell in the room, but going out for a cup of coffee later, I think that's the kind of spirit that young professionals would need more and more.
Mhm.
Given that now we are also having diverse teams, we're going to have remote working. You would be working with somebody in Bulgaria or Romania. Well, you gotta accept all kinds of difference of opinions that will come along, and
Mhm.
then co-create something which is good for the organization, good for yourself.
Mhm.
Uh, One more thing is to sometimes understand the big picture, right? I mean, we get caught so much in a rabbit hole that you don't know where you are. You
Mhm.
don't know where you're going. So, might be a good idea that the young professionals can sort of step back, reflect, understand what's the big picture,
Mhm.
understand what role you're playing in that big picture, what you're trying to do in that big picture. Like, I mean, engineers do it all the time, right? So if you're building a bridge, and not everybody is designing a bridge, right? Some guy
Mhm.
would be working on a small nut which is tightening the rope or something like that.
Mhm.
I mean, sometimes he'll be confused as to why do I need to screw this nut so much. uh, but then he understands that the structure of the bridge is such that these wires will support the
Mhm.
cantilever and all that stuff. So it is important to get into that role, to sort of step back, understand what we're trying to achieve, what we're trying to do. Last point I think I would like to conclude this topic is at least with uh, have that mentality of apprenticeship. So what in olden days, right, there used to be apprentices. So meaning that um, a Leonardo da Vinci would have a lot of people around him, all the kids,
Mhm.
all the hopefuls, around him watching the master at work, and they would do all this kind of sundry job for the guy, bring him coffee or
Mhm.
clean his whatever the stone ash that has fallen away. So, but what those apprentices did was they actually learned from somebody,
Mhm.
right? So they learned the art of the nuances of the art. They learned the patience of the master. I mean, in India, we have that concept of the guru shishya, where
Yeah.
you constantly learn from somebody.
Mhm.
And I think now more than ever is that I think that the guys coming into the workforce, just because you have access to Google and you can, research the hell out of everybody,
Mhm.
it doesn't mean that, you would really understand what the concept is.
Mhm.
And it takes, it's a process. I mean, it takes time is a big element of your of your um, improvement, because if you invest more time, you are able to improve your art. Similarly, I think having these that apprenticeship mentality helps. I mean, it doesn't have to be structural. Like, it doesn't have to be that, okay, I'm going to spend 2 hours with you. It can be in a conversation. I would say, hey, I can take the best out of this conversation for me. Maybe this style that you have is very good for me. I can make a quick note of it.
Mhm.
And it's important for the young guys to actually have this constant apprenticeship sort of going on. Talk to people, observe the leaders at work. What are the good things that they do? What are the bad things that they do? So you can avoid those kind of things. And that's,
Mhm.
if that mentality is there, like always a student, right?
Mhm.
And always an apprentice, I think it will only improve your journey in the profession that you want to go in. And maybe if it's a startup or whatever it is, I think it's important to have these little sort of gurus all over to learn, constantly learn.
So that's
So
right. I
yeah,
mean, you said
those.
like covered 4 to 5 points, which are approximately. I mean, I had. I'm sure that you have seen so many sessions of CSCs that we did here. Everybody talks about this, but in different aspects. I mean, the way you said it is like you covered it like thoroughly. I mean, if we start from like become more, ready for acceptance. I mean, just accept things if you did it, and then be open for the opportunities as well, and then be ready for the constant changes. What else? You also said few more things which I just can't recall right now, but it's like, I'm just to put it in perspective for the viewers to make some like star points out of it. So there are so many things that you really covered. I hope that it was, I mean, for me it was really how should I put it, really informative, in colons, if I may put it. Last but not the least, if I may ask, you're mentioning a lot, because I guess our viewers must be having this curiosity with them. You're mentioning a lot about football, so I guess that you're a football fan out there. You're also mentioning, you're also taking reference of army. What's the relevance that you have with the army, if I may ask, like a personal
I
question?
no, I don't. I mean, I don't have a lot of none sort of on the relevance of the army, but I think to me, I mean, the reason why I reference now it is that I understand the real teamwork. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, in a boardroom context, or in our kind of a context where you're sitting in a nice place, I'm sitting in a nice place, we can chat and you know sort of imagine the world that is happening around us. I think those are the people who are out there. I think, and they whatever concepts we talk about, I think they live it. They sort of live by it.
That's right.
And the fundamental difference, and this is one of my mentors always says, is that whatever you do, we are not in the life-saving business. So there is no ultimate price that we have to pay. Even if
That's
I
right.
say something wrong on this forum, there is no ultimate price. I mean, somebody is not going to lose a life over it. But that profession, and that area, and also in the hospital side as well, the doctors and the medical professions, I think is the same, because they make split second decisions which will seal the fate
Mm-hmm.
of the patient. So those are the guys who really, I mean, Operation Theater is another example. I mean, you can look at the
That's
teamwork,
right. Huh?
right? The
Yeah, yeah.
one with the scissors, the one with the scalpel, the one with the one who just sprays the disinfectant on your glove. They are not all surgeons, but the surgeon cannot do anything
Without
if
them.
his platoon is not in with him. So
That's right.
I think those are the areas where I like to observe, because they don't talk,
Mm-hmm.
they demonstrate, and what is at stake is the ultimate human price, not
Mm-hmm.
not something that you and I do for our living, right?
That's right. So
That's
they
why
basically
that's why I
demonstrate.
reference it.
So you take the reference of the individuals who really demonstrate the practices that we're
Correct,
talking
correct,
about,
correct.
and then we try to remonstrate it so that we can get more out of them and
True, true, true,
you
true,
know,
true,
just
true.
imply out
I
there.
mean, we have a chance to reflect back and observe this, and then improve our own style, and always give ourselves that comfort that, hey, listen, I am not putting anybody in danger. I'm just running my shop. So yeah, so that's why I reference it. I'm not being part of the army, and
No,
we never have.
I just like the passion that you have for both of them. I mean, I'm also a football fan. Although again, I don't have any reflection of the army, but it gives you a different, sort of pleasure to talk about the armed forces every time, the uniform. But it was a great session for me, Pranav. I hope you also enjoyed this. To add up few more things, I mean, to talk about few more things. We don't have that much time here for our for our viewers, but if we can if I can ask you where our viewers can find you to know more about you.
Find me, yeah, on LinkedIn. That's the only social media platform I use.
Okay, so I guess our viewers can type Pranav Bhanage. It's
Yeah, I think
Pranav space Bhanage. You can find Pranav. If you want to have a small chit chat, you can have it with him. He's of course a mentor and a coach, and go through his videos and his sessions. He's good. What he's basically like sort of best what he does. All right, so let's end this with some thank you notes. So thank you very much, Pranav, for joining us for this session and sharing such great insights with us. We of course look forward to having a great chat with you again in the coming future on some other trending topics in the international business industry across the globe. And for our viewers, if you like this chat with Mr. Bhanage, please like and share this video, and also click on that red button and subscribe to Click of a Creators YouTube channel to appreciate what we do. And you have more coming in from industry leaders like Mr. Pranav Bhanage. This was Sagar for BizTalk World signing off. Thank you very much for joining us.